morning, Teresa.
Morning, Paul.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Lovely to see you. As you can see, washed hair, painted nails. Second time they've been painted in 6 weeks, so it feels really nice. But as for the hair, tell you funny, walking across the field, because, you know, I'm shielding, but because I live in the country, Stephen takes me out for a walk. Like, take the dog out for a walk, he takes me out. And we were walking across this field, and he said to me, "You must be feeling really at home." I said, "Sorry." He said, "You must be feeling really at home." I said, "What are you on about?" He said, "Your hair." He said, "You look like a Highland cattle." So I don't know if that's a compliment or what, but it certainly needs cutting. It's past its cutting time, but
I've allowed my wife to have a go at mine, and this is, you know, I've got my aftershave on for you. Can you smell it?
Well, that was why I put mine on as well. I said to Stephen, Paul puts his on, and also I told him that your wife would cut your hair, but I'm trying to cut his. He's just, I suppose he won't have gin in the morning with his breakfast, and that's what I'd really like to do. It's first thing when I'm a bit sensible. So I get there eventually to cut his hair.
Oh, well, it's lovely to see you on here and chat away. And I've enjoyed these series, and I've known you for many years now. And I just like, for people that don't know who you are and what you do, if you'd like to talk about the subject you work within, what you're passionate about, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, so my name's Teresa Wort, and I'm a mindfulness and compassion teacher, qualified. And mindfulness and compassion, let me tell you what it is. It involves learning to be fully present in the here and now. And by understanding how our minds work regarding thoughts, emotions, and habits, it enables us to have the choice to consciously respond rather than to react to the present moment, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. Often we're so busy living in the past or worrying about the future that we actually miss appreciating living in the here and now. So the bit I always like to make clear to my clients is I'm not a counsellor, therapist. I'm a mindfulness teacher, so it's an education. So I'm sort of giving you a toolbox, which was given to me, gosh, I've been practicing now 8 years. How I got started 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with arthritis, and so pain. And that's a whole topic in itself. So a lot of my clients come to me with pain. I've got people with Parkinson's, arthritis, and lots of other conditions. But when you get that sort of, you know, you're told I was only young then, Paul, 10 years ago. I'm still young now, but I was young then. And I was healthy. I didn't take paracetamols. We climbed mountains. Well, no, I think it's called hill climbing. Let's get the words right. But I've done like 3 peaks. And, you know, all of a sudden this guy says, "You've got psoriatic arthritis and you need to do drugs." And so I was really quite rebellious and in denial, which is what we all do. We don't, and this is what mindfulness teaches you, we all want things. We like the pleasant stuff. It's like we're always striving for the next good moment, that often we're not actually here and now in this moment and enjoying it as we should. So I was, you know, I look back now and I think, wow, I could do with going back to St. Margaret's Hospice and apologising to all the people that had to work with me, because when you're in pain, you still want to work. I was a fundraiser, you know, I wasn't going to allow this pain to take over. And so, yeah, it was really bad. It got to the point I was signed off sick. I couldn't turn a key in the door. I couldn't lift a mug. And I started a journey with drugs, medication drugs. And it took 3 years to find the right one. So I totally get when someone comes to me and they've been diagnosed with a condition and they're cross and they're angry and they're upset and they're looking back, because I was looking back. You know, I've not been able to climb scaffold pike or anything like that since. And you mourn for what you've lost. So it's tough. And then you fight with it, and that doesn't help, because fighting just causes more stress and more anxiety. So you get into this awful loop of pain, recovery, you know, rest, and then fall back on. So I'd come back into work. I mean, I remember walking around the hospice, and I know it's a crazy story I'm giving you now, but I hadn't had a sick day for a whole year. And I went round with cake, because you know me, making cakes, and gave everybody a cake, and they're looking at me, and I'm going, you can't imagine how that feels that you've not had a sick day for a year, that you've been healthy. And so, you know, I learned an awful lot then, but during this pain, my GP, I had to stop all drugs for them to give me nice approved the drug that I take now, that I
Yeah.
inject once a fortnight. And to do that, I had to be totally drug free. And that's how my body then went down to Camp Tourniquet, off work and lift a mug. And he couldn't give me anything, but he said to me, go to a pain management, go and have some help. And when I went and saw this lovely lady, and she sorted. And instantly I got it, whether that was because previously I'd fundraised for BIBIC. So I understood how the brain can re-engage, how you can change the brain, how the brain is neuroplasticity, and we make paths and tracks in it that can be reinforced and kept away from and all the rest. So I was very open to it. And then she said, and have you got any other anxiety? I said, oh yeah, I'm idiopathic anaphylaxis. And she looked at me, I said, oh, I've nearly died a few times. And she said, yeah, you need a mindfulness course. And by then, you know, the idiopathic, for those that don't understand, that's like, you know, people have a peanut allergy, or allergy to fish, whatever. They don't know what mine is. So I've had a few serious shocks, and Debonair ambulances picked me up, and yeah, I've nearly died a few times. So that sorts you out. That's a whole other avenue of sorting out your brain.
Yeah.
So she's, you know, got me to do this mindfulness course. And the greatest thing I learned was right from the very first time with her was what I'm going to explain to you, Teresa, and tell you is going to change the way that you will ever look at any situation ever again. And it was so true. And, you know, it took time. You know, that's why it's a practice. You do a meditation every day, you practice. But your meditation is a time to be still, to be quiet. It's like giving yourself permission to just sit and be. And you're not looking to empty your mind of thoughts. Your thoughts will always be there. But what mindfulness teaches you is not to engage with them. Because you know how you have thoughts going through your mind, and the next minute you're in there. And you start a story with them, and you're down the road, and everything's a disaster, catastrophizing, all sorts of things go on. And then all of a sudden somebody rings the doorbell, and the phone goes, and you come back, oh, you know, oh blimey, no, but wow. And then you're emotionally, and you're upset, and you know, it totally affects you. So, okay, I've been practicing 8 years now, and instantly I catch myself, and I go, hey, that's the story, don't join in. You know, your thoughts are there. Do you want me to give you some statistics on that? The National Science Foundation say we have anything between 12 and 60,000 thoughts a day. Now, the scary bit, 80% of them are negative, and 95% of them will be repeated tomorrow. You know, that, that is thought-provoking. So, you know, you don't want to engage, but thoughts are normal, all right? So we're not looking to stop them. And you need to have thoughts. You need to be creative and come up with brilliant ideas. But the majority of thoughts are negative, because that's our bias as well. We were cavemen, and to survive, all we had to think about was food, shelter, and finding a partner. And that was your whole life.
Yeah.
You know, so we've survived because the part of the brain was always on alert for danger. And that part of the brain has stayed with us, which is wonderful. I'm sure it's the one that stops you walking in the dog poo. Definitely. I need to find some science guy to tell me that. You know, how you have that sudden, whoop, oh, that was close. Nearly stepped on the dog poo. Anyway, sorry, I've just lowered the conversation. But so he protects you. So every time something in your life happens, even, you know, right from the minute as a little child, it's recorded, and it's recorded in a nanosecond. You don't even know about it, and it's there. And so anytime a situation comes up, he pops up. He goes, oh, I remember this last time. So let me give you examples. Say tomorrow you've got to put a bid into a client. You know, you're pitching for a job, or you've got an interview for a job. And your thoughts start to go. And he really wants to help. So it's called the amygdala, this little guy. So he pops up and he gives you, do you remember that last one? Oh, don't you remember? You forgot. And then you went and said this. And and you're getting hot and sweaty, and you haven't even got to the interview, because this is what it's doing. Whereas mindfulness will teach you to go, yeah, okay, I hear what you're saying, but actually, so, it's like stress and anxiety. Stress, there's good places to use them. They're good for you. It's what gets you out of bed. Like I said, the caveman got out of bed, he looked for food, he looked for shelter, and he looked for a partner. But now, in 2020, we fall out of bed, we get on that hamster wheel, and off we go, and we get stressed out, and by the end of the day we're so wound up, and we go to bed and we can't sleep. And then what's the classic thing you do when you go to bed? You don't lay there and think of all the great things that happened today. No, you think of that one little incident when a little person turned around and said, I hate you, daddy, or whatever, and that's what plays over in your mind, or somebody at work upset you. So, you can see where I've come on this journey of that anxiety of when am I going to have my next anaphylactic shock. It was that bad in the beginning. My first holiday was in Somerset. I live in Somerset, but I didn't want to go far. And even now I clock how close a hospital is, because the more you have them, the quicker they happen. So it is quite scary, and I think a time may come that I'll go. But as you can see, you bring mindfulness to it, and I just accept it, because all that matters is here and now, in this moment. And that's the same with everything. All you can do is check everything that you need to do, not overly check, don't go, get over carried away. But I know where my EpiPen is, Stephen knows where another EpiPen is. I can only put all those things in place, and then I have to go with it.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach people, that, the hardest thing when you've been diagnosed with pain or a condition that you really don't want, and the greatest thing you can do is turn into it and go, okay, what's this about? And I was given that second opportunity, if that's what you want to call it, a few years back, as you may recall. Teresa does nothing simple. A dear friend, her doggy took me out on a walk, and I badly broke my leg. And as I spun up in the air and landed, I instantly knew how bad it was. And I ended up breaking my tibia platter. So I took a chunk out of it, I shattered it, and I split it on my left leg, just below your knee.
Did it properly then?
Oh yeah, because I don't do small things. And then I was in hospital for 10 days. I've never been able to work that one out. I'd love to go back and say, why did you keep me in so long? But anyway, I was there. They were wonderful. So I was in Taunton in one of those private rooms. They gave me that after 5 days. I could never decide, was it because I chatted too much and they needed peace and quiet for the other patients? Or was it good behaviour? But anyway, I had a lovely private room in the end. So that was great. But then I couldn't put my foot on the ground for 8 weeks. I had to keep it up. And then when they started for me to walk, I'd had all this metal work put in my leg. I couldn't walk. And I didn't walk really for 18 months until I persuaded them with gentle conversations. Mindfulness, don't ever think it makes you wimpoid or that you roll over and give in. Yes, we very much say if you can let something be, let it be. You don't always have to have closure. It's okay to just go, do you know what? Just go with it. Sometimes it's better for you than holding that against somebody else. But when you do make up your mind about something in mindfulness, I do think it makes you stronger. So after a few conversations, they took my metal work out, and then I was able to walk. But during that time, obviously, poor old Stephen's suffering at home. He's got this wife sat there, crocheted a few blankets, read a few books. He said, you need to do something. And that's how I ended up doing a foundation degree level in mindfulness. And the course that I was qualified and taught in allows me to do small groups or bespoke one-to-ones. So I've been teaching now for a few years, thoroughly enjoying it. I have groups, mixed husband, wives come along, or a few girly groups. I've had gentlemen as a group. I've got an awful lot of one-to-ones with gentlemen. I think men, which is wonderful, are much easier to be able to say, do you know, I've got some anxieties. I'm concerned. I've had quite a few businessmen that employ, 20, 30 staff, and we're worried about Brexit. Where's that gone now? It's that was a big challenge, and it's given them sleepless nights. And so, mindfulness, it helps to lower blood pressure. I've got one guy, his wife dropped me an email. And she said, it's just like a new map. Yes, he still has to take, I think, a smaller dose for his blood pressure, but his blood pressure's come down and he loves it. And he always reminds me when I see him. I've had police, nurses, teachers, retired teachers, the people that have come across a vicar, the people that have come across my, to me, I feel extremely flattered, and yeah, it's a privilege to be able to help someone through those things. And especially when it comes to work, because I'm sure when you got to Google, so many big companies, Google and Microsoft and Facebook and plenty of others, they all practice mindfulness and teach the staff. A lot of MDs do it themselves, sports personalities. Lewis Hamilton meditates. The Splish Splash guy, what's his name? Adam something.
I can't remember now.
He's won loads of medals.
Yeah.
He meditates before he gets out there and swims. Then the other swimmer that jumps off the big board, he meditates. Ruby Wax will tell you, do I fall out of bed and go to the gym, or do I fall out of bed and do a meditation? Oh, I'll fall out of bed and do a meditation. It's so beneficial. It's amazing, the difference. But it's a practice. It's something you have to learn to do. But as you can see, Paul, I've been chattering away now. Sorry.
No, it's brilliantly to hear your story and the benefits to it. Sorry. And looking back when we spoke at the start of this series with Becky from New Leaf, that you know very well,
yes, yeah.
In terms of mental health. And I guess the thing about this pandemic with the coronavirus is everybody has been affected in some way, and maybe had time to take stock of not just what's happening now in the present, but where they've been in the past, and a little bit of a murky, uncertain future where we're going next. And I think also, often the biggest battle is with yourself. And, I'm 40 years old, but the 20-year-old Paul was very different to the 40-year-old Paul. And holding on, you mentioned holding on to those negative thoughts and experiences. There's a very good film called Inside Out. I don't know if you've heard of it, a Disney film. And it's obviously a children's film, but it's all about memories. And there's a character called Joy, and one called Anger, and one called Sadness.
Oh, yes, I have heard of it. Yeah.
And it's all these little memories that do get stored in your head, and and there's a big room where there's millions of little balls. They use like what do you call it, like glass balls. Of like, this is the red one's the angry one, and the yellow one's the happy one. And it's just a lovely way to think about the impact that these little micro experiences have that you mentioned. And I often think, it's a bit like I went, if I go to see my favorite band in concert that I did earlier in the year. And I'm there in awe, in the moment with my hero and he's looking at me, and I've got this connection, and I'm just in awe of what they do and just experiencing it. And then you've got 10 people around filming it, watching it through a camera or phone, to save that on a phone and then watch when in the future. And for me, that's very much about. For me, that's my closest experience. I've been very conscious about living in now. And Trish mentioned on earlier in her talk about losing her mother, and how mindfulness helped her to deal with the grief of that, and to understand that things have happened, and to kind of almost place that in her head to be able to recover and move forwards, which she did. And you mentioned pain, and obviously there's grief. And I thought other ways that you work with people, say stress, other ways you've experienced that mindfulness can help lots of different people.
Yeah. And it's the same within business, in work. But you get these skills that you can then go back into work and put them into place, so you can be more creative, you can be more focused. And also the compassion bit teaches you how to be a bit more compassionate to your colleagues, because often, and we don't mean to be, but we are very much me. And as much as we're a team, and sometimes you get in that team situation for ideas and things, and there's always one that takes over, and then there's the other that sits back quietly, or one speaks up and the other one makes them not feel so good. And I do think I'm lucky that you knew me when I was in fundraising with St. Margaret's, but previous to that, I spent 15 years or more of my life in working for myself as a trainer in sales. So, and if I'm giving my age away a bit, but you go back all those years ago, it was very, you were, very full of yourself and got in there and doing and all the rest. And I don't remember the compassion bit coming in. Whereas now, understanding the compassion, it's certainly helped me in the last 8 years to look at people and their circumstances, and when somebody is upset you, even if it's only little and you think, what was that about? But there's a technique we give you that you're able to go, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You see a bigger picture, you know, and the compassion we don't give to ourselves. I was, you know, yeah, I'm compassionate. You know, I'm a fundraiser. I've been doing that for years. I wasn't compassionate to me. You know, below the arthritis, I'm going to work. Below the arthritis, I'm extracting money out of people. I mean, people will be so pleased I'm in lockdown now. But a lot of fundraising world, I bumped into, I won't say his name in case he should see this, but I bumped into one of the bank guys in a hotel in Devon a couple of years ago. And he said to us, well, oh, it's Teresa. He was at breakfast looking really petrified. And I said, I went over, I said, okay, I don't work for St. Margaret's anymore. I'm not fundraising anymore. Oh, he said, my poor wallet was going, oh my God, it's Teresa. She'll be over asking money in a minute. But you said about the coronavirus, I mean, to give you an example, just because I'm a mindfulness teacher doesn't stop me, as my husband often reminds me, you're still human. And that coronavirus, and, you know, you probably gathered, you know, I take this drug, so it knocks out my immune system. And so I have to go to regular blood tests. And I went right back 6 weeks ago and I walked in and you looked, and it really brought it home to me. And the nurse was very Teresa. She said, you are going to be sheltered. You know, you go home, you don't go out, you just look after you. Oh, and Stephen, but you know, your immune system is suppressed.
Yeah.
And I came home and then you think, oh, is it? You know, and then all of a sudden it is, and you get the letter and you got volunteers. I mean, I can still cry now, so don't get me, because yeah. But you know, the first time a volunteer stood on the doorstep with my drugs, you know, and stepped back, I could have just booed. You know, when someone stood there and gave me some food, it's like, yeah, I mean, I was really excited. I went for a blood test yesterday morning. I got out. It's the first time I've been out for a month.
Wow, yeah.
But, you know, and so instantly I was thrown back to being out of control. And this is something we all want to be. I always recall when the immunologist up at Southmead, Bristol, had to dismiss me, you know, because I was idiopathic. And he said, you know, I'm really, really sorry. You know, he said, in 25, 30 years, I've probably come across 3 or 4 like you. And he'd written about me in the Lancet, and he'd done all sorts to try and help me. He said, but I've got to let you go. There's nothing I can do. You've got to learn to live with it. And it was like, whew.
Yeah.
And I went up stroppy, you know, because one could do stroppy when one's angry. And obviously this is all before mindfulness. And I went to my doctor, and he says, because you're not in control, Teresa. And I think that is such a, you know, it is a strong word. And it is what we all want. And I think that's why so many of us are all suffering now, is because we're not in control of this. You know, this has come over, you know, we felt it was coming and we're all cracking jokes about it. And now it's real and people are dying. And, you know, Stephen's auntie died of it last week in a care home. And it's like, okay, this is really bringing it home to you. So, you know, the coronavirus at the beginning for me was like, oh, that's my mindfulness finished. You know, I'm shielding, I'm vulnerable, I'm never going to be able to teach face to face, which hopefully might please some people. They'd rather think, oh, I could do with her on Zoom, but I don't know if I could do with her in real life. So I'm hoping that that's what will happen. And it was you know, you've been, as you know, you've propped me up very much over the last few years. You built my website and you've encouraged me. You still haven't got me on Facebook. But, you know, I'm on LinkedIn and it was LinkedIn that helped me. You know, I'd pop in and look and everybody was in the same boat, but then everybody was turning it around and being positive. And then I thought, yeah, come on, trees, you've been here before. This is the anaphylactic shock. This is the broken leg and you can't walk. This is the arthritis. This is change. And it's such a small word, change, but change happens all the time. And the greatest thing you can do with change is embracing. You know, is to get up and like I said to Stephen this morning, I could teach the world now, you know, and that's what you've got to have, that gut feeling, because hopefully the enthusiasm comes across from mindfulness. I feel this is where I've been going. This is, you know, don't want to sound all hippie like that, but this has been my journey, I feel, in my life. You know, there's plenty of crap I could tell you about, but we won't go there. But there's other stuff, and I've always wondered what was all that stuff about. And now I'm teaching mindfulness. And like I say, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counsellor, you know, I'm a teacher. But when people come out with stuff, I can feel it. I know where they're coming from, and I want to hold their hand and help them through. And giving yourself compassion is so, so important. You know, so instantly with the coronavirus, yeah, this is tough. This is horrible. Yeah, if you want to sit and boo, boo. You know, you don't have to do anything. There's no, you should do this or you must behave like that. We're all individuals. And we're all on this journey, different stages. Someone said to me the other day, she said, oh, I feel brilliant one day and down the next. And it is, it's like a roller coaster. But then I think life is like a roller coaster. And that's what mindfulness teaches you. You have to turn in and face the good as well as the bad. We need to stop all this craving. And I hope we will definitely come out of this different. And I hope that one of the things that we come out with is there isn't this great crave. I want a new car. I want a bigger house. I want to go on holiday. I want to go abroad. I'm hoping that people will come out and go, do you know what? It's brilliant what we've got on the doorstep. It's brilliant the community we're amongst. All these wonderful people that are helping us. It's fantastic. And really what they've discovered is we've been given a gift of time. And as much as sometimes, and you know, I haven't got little people running around, but one of my clients, she's got 4 children, 3 boys, 1 girl, and they're little, you know. But as I've said to her, in years to come, they'll sit down with you and you'll be granny or great granny, and they go, do you remember back in 2020? Hey, God, did we have some fights, Mum? But wow, it was, I look back, that was the best time of my childhood because we were together. Yeah. We were a family. We did things together. We went for a walk together. The dog thought it was Christmas every day. The cat had got fed up with it, as I've heard you say, poor cat. But cats don't like people, do they really? You know, it's, yeah. Sorry, Paul, I do talk.
No, it's just lovely to hear because it's so true. And I think with the family bit, I think lots of us are very guilty as well with children, you know, because we're this merry-go-round you mentioned. Is lots of people are very guilty to just shove a device in the kids' hands. And what I've loved seeing is, you know, is people, you know, doing painting together or baking cakes and, you know, all the rainbow pictures. And just, I've seen people making, I saw a family that a friend of ours, the family made a video, like a little, like an epic movie. And it was the mum and dad, and it was called, it was based on the Wizard of Oz, but in Minehead, and all the children had parts to play, and they all dressed up, and they did. And you kind of think, would that have happened? You know, I mean, they're pretty fun anyway, and do lots of good stuff. But and they shared it on Facebook, and of course everybody loved it, and the children loved it because everyone was watching it, and you know, and it's funny, and everybody, you know, and it was able to be shared with the rest of the family and things like that. And I think those, and you mentioned about the change. You know, in embracing change. And I, like you, we both panicked at different stages about the, I had the same, where initially it was like, it's game over. I've worked for 10 years. I've built this business up. The stack of cards have got to a nice place where we want it to be. And then it was like, they just all fell down. And it wasn't until I sort of thought, well, no, there's opportunities here. Of course, there's it's a horrendous time, and you mentioned your family that you've lost somebody, and its impact on these people that we're seeing on the news. But it's hold on to these positives of families and time together, and the compassion and the community, which often doesn't get seen enough on positive stuff. Particularly, I think maybe part of your reservations with Facebook, it's very much people like to just rant, and that's kind of fallen back because people have been, you know, because people are a part of this journey together during this pandemic. That people feel part of this and will remember it. And I'm just thinking, you know, with embracing change, most of your work, you say, is done face to face, and it's, you know, or small groups or one to one. And for you, it's embracing. Well, I'm shielding still, but there's a huge opportunity for you to use Zoom and have this connection, which we still are having very much of an intimate chat, just you and I, although it will be shared. That you can do this now with people one to one. Or groups. And also it's the opportunities to say, well, it isn't just in my local area. I could help people on the other side of the world. Yeah. You know, that have gone through, that will resonate with your story, that have gone through pain and this journey. And I think it's a big opportunity for you. I'm
a bit concerned about, I give talks because Devon Air Ambulance, when I broke that leg, and I was led in the field. I ended up being there for 2 hours, and I survived the 2 hours by doing the mindfulness. And then the air ambulance came. It was only up the road, 10 minutes from my house, because the ambulance crew couldn't get me out because of the leg and obviously the anaphylactic shock. So I'm not allowed drugs and certain things. So, but I nearly died because it was Devon Air Ambulance. And they picked me up once already, so it's twice. So I do hope that some way other people will embrace technology, and I will get the opportunity still to give talks, because you know I enjoy talking. You know, so if I can go into corporate room and chat to people and just share, because your body, something I never said was, when we're stressed and anxious, your body doesn't know whether it's emotional, physical, or nutritional. How many times have you been a nicer person after you've had that little sandwich or that glass of water? So, you know, there's so much that I want to give and share. And I've so enjoyed doing the talks that I've done so far. And I don't want that to go, because that's a donation to the air ambulance. Oh, yeah. I've paid them back for one trip, Paul, but I still owe them for the other. So as much as I give them a donation every month, I still got some work to do.
Well, we very much look forward to seeing you back on the circuit once you once you're able to give these talks to people. I wanted to sort of end on quickly mention you've put together a guide for mindfulness walk.
I have. What I've done is appreciate that the people that are listening aren't practicing mindfulness, so it's not a full-grown meditation. It's just a guide. So it's 10 minutes. I think it might be 10 minutes and 26 seconds, but it's just a guide, so that awful lot of my clients used to go for a walk, take the dog, take the children, they're on the phone, they're busy thinking, they're doing work, that they're not actually going for a walk. Mm-hmm. So when I'd sit and talk to them about how to do a walk, and the same goes, so mentioning it now, Paul's going to pop it on the website, but I'm speaking about going for a walk, but I haven't forgotten that there's people listening here that are the same as me, and I'm lucky that I've got a field up the road, but you may not be able to go out. You have got to stay in. So follow my guide and do it just standing in the window, stood in the back garden, sat in the back garden. You know, I want you to understand that when you go for a walk, you use all your senses.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much.
And then can I say some thank yous before you make me disappear?
Yeah.
And I feel like I always have to have the last say. Terrible. When I was fundraising, they used to go, oh God, what's Teresa can ask for now? Just give us some more money. Right. So I want to say thank you to you, Paul, because you have been there. You helped me with a website, because I didn't want one of those, and people were asking, where's your website? Because an awful lot I get recommendations, but the person they recommended to wanted to have a look at her and know who she was, and then you've tried really hard with Facebook, but we haven't succeeded. LinkedIn, I'm there, and you've given me the courage to networking. As you know, I was petrified. I hadn't been out networking for 4 or 6 years, 5 years, whatever. So I came to you, which was good, and came again, and then you allowed me to speak, which was lovely. So, you know, you've been on that journey with me. And then with this, for you to offer your clients an opportunity of this platform, I think it's tremendous. It's priceless. I mean, I feed you with carrot cake.
Yeah, very nice carrot cake.
This is going to be a huge carrot cake, but yeah, I'm really grateful. And also, people on LinkedIn are offering courses, and I'd listened to it. I went on a Zoom class with Hugh Graham, and that was tremendous, and learned so much. You know, I listened to you yesterday talking to Richard Hussey, and that was brilliant. And then your hairdresser, tell her I did have a go. I did put it all forward and go snip, snip, like she said. And what I loved, simple instructions. She said, do it every 3 or 4 days. You know, and it's often those little things people say to you. And then obviously I want to thank all the volunteers that are helping people like me, and the NHS that are certainly, they've looked after me. I love them to bits. They've looked after me for so long, and they're still looking after me. And look what they're doing for everybody else. So I'll be quiet now, Paul.
Wonderful. Well, it's been so nice to chat, and there's lots of people that can understand your story and their own story during all this. So I really, really appreciate you joining me this morning, and I really look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon, hopefully, with another carrot cake, which we get.
Yes. Yeah. More carrot cake. Thank you, Paul.
All the best, Teresa. Bye now. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.